Welcome to Wisdom Time. Today, we're jumping into a question that I think we all wrestle with. It really gets to the heart of how we deal with our wins and, maybe more importantly, our losses. Have you ever felt this? I mean, it's such a common feeling. You get a result you're not happy with and your mind just starts spinning. There's that voice saying, I should have done more. But then another part of you wonders, shouldn't I just accept this as my destiny? It's this real tug of war between self-critique and acceptance. Well, the key to solving this puzzle isn't about choosing one side over the other. The confusion usually happens because we're trying to use the same tool for two totally different situations. The real answer is in understanding two powerful but very separate spiritual concepts. And here they are. On one hand, you've got Tawakkul, which is all about a deep trust in God. On the other, you have Rida, which is about a peaceful contentment or acceptance. Now, here's the crucial difference, and it's all about timing. Tawakkul is for the future, for everything that hasn't happened yet. Rida, on the other hand, is for the past, for things that are already done. The whole secret is just knowing which one to use and when. Okay, let's make this super clear with a simple analogy. Let's say you've got a huge exam coming up on June 10th. Now think about June 9th, the day before. The exam is still in the future, right? So your mindset, your actions, all of that falls under Tawakkul. But now, fast forward to June 11th. The exam is over. It's in the past. Your mindset has to shift. This is now the time for Rida. See? It's the same event, but your position in time completely changes the spiritual tool you need. So let's break this down a bit more. Let's start with the future. How do we face what's coming? This is where we dive into Tawakkul. Now, Tawakkul is not about being passive. It's not just sitting back and hoping for the best. It's actually the complete opposite. It's this dynamic combination of action and trust. You decide on your goal, and you do everything in your power to get there. You study for that exam, you prep for the interview, you put in the hours. And as you're doing your part, you place your trust in God for the process and for whatever the final outcome is going to be. And look, this isn't just a blind leap of faith. This trust is built on a really solid foundation. It comes from believing three things: that God has infinite knowledge, that he has absolute power, and that he has an immense, overwhelming compassion for us. When you truly believe that, trusting the future just makes sense. It becomes a source of calm. And this is where it gets really practical for our daily lives. What's the number one thing we feel when we think about the unknown future? For most of us, it's fear and anxiety. Tawakkul is presented here as the direct answer to that. It's the spiritual medicine that lets us move forward without being frozen by fear. So again, the point is this is an active path. First, you make your plan and you do the work. Second, you talk to people, you get advice, and you pray. Third, you trust in whatever happens with a calm heart. And finally, you move on, you keep going without getting stuck in that paralyzing loop of what if, what if, what if. It's incredibly empowering. All right, so we've covered how to approach the future with active trust. But what about that exam that's already done? What about the results that are already posted? For that, we turn to our second tool, Rida. This is all about accepting the past. Rida is about looking back at what happened, whether it felt good or bad, and finding a sense of peace with it. And we're not talking about a grudging, fine, whatever kind of acceptance. This is a deep contentment that comes from knowing that whatever happened, it came from a source that is ultimately wise and compassionate.
And you can see the parallel here, right? If Tawakkul was the remedy for the anxieties of the future, then Rida is the remedy for the pains of the past. It's the spiritual antidote for sorrow, for regret, for the despair that can keep us chained to things we simply cannot change anymore.
And just like Tawakkul, this piece is built on some core beliefs. It's the understanding that what's done is done by God's decree, that God doesn't just create pure meaningless evil, that he is Al-Hakim, the all-wise, and that there is a purpose behind everything, and that he is compassionate, so even in things that look like hardships, there's some kind of good intended for us. So you might be wondering, what good could possibly come from a bad grade or a failed project? Well, this framework gives us a few ways to reframe it. Maybe that difficulty was an atonement, a way of cleaning our slate from past mistakes. Or maybe it was an opportunity in disguise, a chance to face a weakness and get stronger. Or you could even see it as a kind of prepayment for blessings that are still to come. It turns suffering into something with meaning. By the way, if you're finding this explanation helpful and it's clicking for you, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and hit that notification bell. It really helps and you won't miss our next deep dive. Okay, so we have our two tools, one for the future, one for the past.
Now let's put them together and see the kind of incredibly resilient mindset this creates.
It honestly is this simple, but also this profound. For everything that lies ahead of you, you apply tawakkul. You put in the effort, and you pair it with trust. For everything that's behind you, you apply riza. You find peace and acceptance knowing there's wisdom in it. It's not one or the other. They're two sides of the same coin, creating a truly balanced way to live.
And what's the end result of living like this? It's freedom. Real, emotional, and spiritual freedom. You're protected from drowning in the sorrows of the past because you've learned to see the wisdom there. And you're protected from being paralyzed by despair about the future because you've learned to trust the one who holds that future.
And that brings us to the most empowering takeaway of all. This whole mindset, it doesn't make you passive. It actually fuels action. When you handle the past correctly with Riza and the future correctly with Tawakkul, you're never truly broken. You always have the strength to make the next move. So to go back to that original question about the bad grades, that feeling that you should have worked harder, that's a great lesson for the future. That's for your Tawakkul next time. But accepting the grade you got and finding peace with it, that's Riza. You don't have to choose. You actually need both to move forward.